Hello everyone, welcome to this new video. My name is Kaustav from InsightStat, and today we are going to talk about a very important concept, data modeling. Now this is not important just because we are talking about Power BI. Data modeling is important and is a fundamental concept in database management systems and data warehousing. Now in Power BI specifically, data modeling is part of the transform and load phase of the ETL process, the extract, transform, and load process, which is a very important process. Right. Now, data modeling, it involves structuring our data tables, creating relationship between tables, defining hierarchies, setting up the proper primary and foreign keys, which we will talk about in the next part of the video. And it also talks about optimizing the model for performance through proper normalization. Now, we are not going to cover normalization in this video series because we will cover normalization in the SQL series, which I'm going to start very shortly. Now, let's first understand what is data modeling. Why do we need data models? And what comprises of data models. So in this video, we are going to talk about these three things. In the next video, we are going to talk about what are primary keys and foreign keys and how to connect the primary key and the foreign keys to form a data model. Now let's first understand what happens if we don't have a data model. Let's go to this data or to this model view. So we are done with the Power Query view as of now. We have talked about the Power Query view in our past 6 sessions. Now in this video, we'll talk about this model view. Now for simplicity's sake, let's talk about only these three tables, the product lookup table, the sales data table, and the returns data. Now this is not a model data model. Why? Because these tables do not have any relationship between them. There is no connection between them. Can you see any connections? There are no connections between them, right? Now you might ask, why do we need a connection between these three tables? What happens if there is no connection? Let's look at it. What happens if there is no connection? Let's go to the report view, and I'll talk about the report view in detail in the upcoming videos. For today, let's just say that I want to build a matrix out of it, a simple table out of it. Now, if I add in the values, if I add from the sales data, if I add order quantity, it gives me 84,174. Now this is not incorrect. This value is correct. Okay, now if I further want to drill this down and I want to say that, hey, I want to look at the product key wise order quantities. If I go to the same table, sales data table, and I pull in the product key, look at this. This is again giving me correct information. This is grouped by the product keys, and I get the product key specific order quantities. Now you might ask, where is the problem now? Let's say instead of product key from the sales data table, the management now asks us, can you show me the product name wise order quantity? I want to, instead of product key, which does not give us much information, let's talk about product names. Now I have to go to the product lookup table where I have the product information, and here I have the product name. Now the moment I click on the product name, look at what happens with the value of each row. It no longer shows me the product name wise or grouped by product name order quantity. Because there is no relationship between the product lookup table and the sales data table, I did not get a correct picture. So why do we need data models? To ensure data integrity, to improve our query performance. It also helps us in creating accurate calculations and visualizations. Look at this. This is not accurate. Hence, we need relationships between the different tables. Now, in order to understand relationships, we first have to understand the business. if we don't understand the business, if we don't understand how this adventure works, ecosystem works, we will not be able to form the correct relationships. We will mess it up. Now, in order to understand what goes into a data model, it's very important to understand the two types of tables that we have in any data model. And this is true across platforms. Doesn't matter if you're using SQL, Power BI, or any other um, tool that uses data models. So these two types of tables are fact table and dimension tables. So what are fact tables and what are dimension tables? Fact tables, I'll quickly show you an example here. Fact tables contain numerical values or metrics used for summarization. For example, sales table here, right? Any order table, returns table, transaction tables, page view tables. These are all fact table. So fact table mostly contains numerical values. On the other hand, we have dimension tables. Dimension tables contain descriptive attributes. For example, the customer table. It has descriptive attributes. Look at this. We have customer ID. Each customer ID has a customer name, customer email, and a customer phone number. Similarly, the product table has a product ID, which uniquely identifies the product name and talks about the country from which the product belongs, their category, and the product price. But we do not do any kind of aggregation or, most very importantly, summarization on dimension tables. We would do mostly on the fact table. And look at this. The fact table pulls in the data from the customer and the product table. It has a customer ID, product ID. It's uniquely being identified by the sales ID, and it has the quantity and the total amount. Right? So this is the difference between a fact table and a dimension table. Dimension table we mostly use for filtering and grouping data. For example, what we saw in our Power BI output, where we used the product name to summarize or to group the order quantity that was coming from the sales table, right? So the sales table, in this case, the sales table, the sales data, the returns data, which mostly has numerical attributes, numerical values, these are our fact table. Product lookup is our dimension table, but because this mostly will primarily contains information related to the products, each product, how it is defined, how the different attributes of the products is being defined in this table. Hence, this is a dimension table, right? So fact table and dimension table forms a very important aspect of the entire data model. If we understand how to differentiate between fact and dimension tables, half of our problem is solved. And if we understand how the business works, other half of our problems are solved, right? So in today's video, we talked about data model, why data models are important, and what are fact and dimension tables, and why they are important in the data model. In the next video, we'll talk about how to form the data model, how to bring these different tables together, and how to make sense out of, or how to create better visualizations by connecting these tables. So if you like today's video, please do share and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.